Okay, so I'm still here. I'm just chilling. Seriously chilling. Just going with whatever comes. Let's talk about... I watched a video. A fellow INFJ YouTuber made a video on life and death. So it kind of sparked some interest in me, and I kind of wanted to explore it. Well, I have explored it. Now I just have to kind of learn how to elaborate and express it in a way that is comprehensible to you. Sorry, I have a hard time talking. It's cold. Okay, life and death. I have had a profound life and death experience. Several. Some were physical, some were mental, some were emotional, some were spiritual. I've experienced that in this lifetime. And I think we've been experiencing it all our lives. I also think that the soul has an intelligence that, supersedes your rational mind, your heart. It is the divine, and all-seeing being that is everything, and it has the highest intelligence. There's a term for it. Supreme consciousness, maybe, who knows. That just is perfect. It's absolute truth. It knows what it needs in order to fall apart, come together, deconstruct, reconstruct, etc. Okay, so life and death experience. Okay, so I had a physical one. It was crazy. I can still revisit it very clearly in my mind. I was in my car. I lost control of it. I was doing a 360. I was doing 360s into oncoming traffic. And it's interesting because time slowed down, and I literally felt like I was entering another reality or dimension. Like everything, even though I was going super fast, time slowed down. Kind of like in movies, man. You know, when they do slow-mo and you're just like, ooh. I know that was a really stupid impression. But yeah, I felt like I could see, and I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid. Like, I could see the potential danger that I was in, and that I was on that threshold where I could either stay or leave. And within a split second, I crashed into a concrete barrier sideways. And I looked up and people were running towards me. It was weird. Yeah, it's weird, but I wasn't afraid in that moment where I could have died. I wasn't afraid. In fact, I was quite fascinated and at peace. And I knew what was happening. I could have totally got hit by oncoming traffic, and I ended up kind of like 360ing out of my lane into the opposing lanes, oncoming traffic, back into the lanes that I was in, and then just kind of like crashing into this concrete barrier. And then I was fine. I didn't even injure myself at all. The car was done, but I was fine. And yeah, you know, maybe my ancestors or angels or beings that are unseen were watching after me. But I think the universal intelligence knew that that needed to happen in order for, you know, other events to unfold into now. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. I've also had, yeah, dude, emotional, mental, spiritual, maybe even deaths in this lifetime. Remember, I was going through a time where I was heavily depressed, and my mental thoughts were really dark and dense, and I was suicidal, and remember I was lying on my bed, on my stomach, and I was just in a really dark place, and I could feel forces pulling my soul out of my body downwards. It was freaky. And in that moment, I remember just saying, literally just saying, God, please help me. And then I got this automatic release. And my soul, like, or my, I don't know, my astral body, is that what you want to refer to it as? Whatever, all these labels that we need to use in order to understand each other. Dude, you can totally understand each other without talking. Have you ever tried? I do it all the time. And if you're quiet, you can like hear and understand and interpret and decipher so much more than just this limited sounds coming out of our mouth. Anyways, I'm going off subject. My astral body was being pulled out of me, and then when I asked God to help me, I was released. There's been other times too, like where I was kind of like stuck in the middle of nowhere, and it could have been life and death, but whatever. I was stuck in the middle of nowhere. It was in the middle of the night. There was nothing. There was no lights. There was no cell phone connection. There was nothing. Stuck in the middle of nowhere. It was pitch black. Once I stepped out of my car, I could not see more than 2 feet, like in diameter around me, myself, and I was in a cliffy area. So if I took the wrong step, I could have stepped off a cliff. Or if I kept driving my car, which had died, by the way, I could have driven off a cliff. Like, yeah, so pitch black in the middle of nowhere, no electricity, no technological reception, and cliffy. I could have, literally, I could have walked off a cliff. Who knows? Yeah, the way I solved that, I just calmed myself, because obviously in the beginning you're gonna feel a lot of anxiety. You know, you're gonna, because your mind is like, oh my God, like, how do I figure this out? How can I get myself out of this situation? So I had to literally get to a place where I was not allowing my mind to affect me, calm myself down, recenter myself, reground myself, enter this space of peace. Seriously, it's all about entering this space of peace. Because when you do, everything makes perfect sense. When you're in your mind, it just creates a lot of chaos and disturbance and imbalance. Seriously, it's like, if you enter like the space of peace, it's just super calm and everything is very clear. So I had to do that. I had to like consciously take myself to that place. And I said a prayer. And I don't tell people often, but I guess I'm gonna tell you. I spend a lot of my time in prayer. I could be working, chopping up something, and I will be saying prayers or mantras in my head. I predominantly spend a lot of my time doing that. Always praying. For myself, for others, for everyone. But anyhow, all that aside, yeah, I was praying, and again, I was like, you know, please help me, God, you know, I need your assistance right now. And next thing you know, like, my car started working again, and it took me to, like, it allowed me to drive to a space where I could get help. Does that make sense? Who knows? Anyways, where was I going with this? Oh, death. We're living and dying every moment, people. Every moment. Every millisecond. We are constantly dying and being reborn. It's not just that one-time thing, you know? We've been doing this for, what is that called? Infinitum. We've been doing it non-stop all the time. It's just, you know, the subtler deaths are like unnoticeable. You know, you don't notice it. But look, I mean, look at me. Every second, and if you could even break it down even further, like, I'm always moving, changing, breathing, blinking. That is a form of transformation, transition, movement from one space of time or one form to another. It's breaking it down. Okay, it's not just that one event that happens. You know, every moment is a time of death and rebirth. Nothing stays the same. Everything always changes. Everything is always in a constant state of transition. And that is what it is. You know, even when the energy that is keeping this vessel animated leaves your body, it's going to be transferred into something else. You know what I mean? So it just never dies. It's just constantly in movement. The energy, the particles, the atoms, the molecules are constantly in motion, constantly living and dying. Think about it, even like this. Okay, this is extreme. This, living, dying. If you can even comprehend that far, if you can, cool. If you can't, cool. The inhalation, the exhalation, it's a form of living and dying right there. When you inhale, you're taking in prana, chi, life-sustaining energy. When you're exhaling, you're eliminating toxins and so forth that are no longer necessary or needed or beneficial to the system. Anyways, I'm freaking going off. I have no idea if I made sense, but that was my interpretation and my perception on life and death. We were living and dying in every moment, if you really, really look at it. And you know what? I know we're used to like immersing ourselves in the noise of the world. Get out of that. Silence is the most potent teacher. You can learn so much from silence, so much from yourself if you were to tap into it, into that super consciousness. No, that's not the right term. Who cares? Hey, have a beautiful day. Blessings to one and all. Amen.